السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله الذي خلق فسوى وأعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى لا مانع لما أعطى ولا معطي لما منع ألا له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله والجماد ينطق حاله لا إله إلا الله وأصلي وأسلم على النبي المصطفى المجتبى وعلى أصحابه النجباء وآله الفضلاء ومن تبعهم بإحسان ودين إلى يوم الجزاء أما بعد فيقول الله تبارك وتعالى وسارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ألا إن بني آدم خلقوا على طبقات ألا إن الغضب جمرة توقد في جوف ابن آدم ألم تروا إلى حمرة عينيه وانتفاخ أوداجه فإذا وجد أحدكم من ذلك شيئا فليلزق بالأرض ألا إن خير الرجال من كان بطيء الغضب سريع الفيء وشر الرجال من كان سريع الغضب بطيء الفيء وعن رجل من أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال رجل يا رسول الله أوصني قال لا تغضب فكررها مرارا فقال الرجل ففكرت حين قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما قال فإذا الغضب يجمع الشر كله أو كما قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. Dear brothers and sisters, we start by praising Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. We ask Allah Ta'ala that He bestow upon us His mercy, that He protect us from His rage and from His wrath. And we ask Him that He send salutations upon the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, befitting of His fadl. And He send peace upon him and his ummah, his companions and his family. Dear brothers and sisters, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, he gave a parable. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah gave a parable and he said that the example of a person within this dunya is like the example of a rider on the horse. If the rider has control over his horse will take him to the right destination. If that rider does not have control over him, then what will happen? His animal will ride him. He will not be going in the right direction. He will fall off. He will injure himself. There won't be a good outcome. So the example of a person in this dunya is the same. Your emotion, your behavior, your spirituality, this is your animal. This is what you ride. If you take control of it, if you check it, if you tame it, it will take you to success. If you don't tame it, it will take you to failure. The human being Allah Ta'ala created upon various types and forms of emotions. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the people were created upon levels. Right? Levels of emotion, levels of iman. And that there are people who are going to tame their emotions. They are the best of people. People who don't tame them, then they could be the worst of people. Rather, they could be from outside of the people community at entirety. They won't remain human because of the attributes they brought within themselves. So these emotional characteristics which the human being has within themselves, they can be good, they can be bad, and they can be what you make of them. They can be what you make of them. And a characteristic which we speak about today, a very important characteristic. It is the nature of anger which Allah Ta'ala has placed within the person, which Allah Ta'ala has placed within the human being. These qualities which you either distance yourself from or you inculcate within yourself, they either act as a bridge between you and Jannah or as an obstacle between you and Jannah. Your anger can either be for good cause. Even anger can be beautiful, and we'll discuss that later. Or anger can be very ugly. Anger can be very bad. Right? You can take, if you have an attraction towards modern psychology, or the statements of modern doctors, take what they have to say. Right? So, anger in no way is positive. Uncontrolled and unchecked anger is in no way beneficial for a person. It harms a person physiologically. It takes a toll on your health. High blood pressure, diabetes, you can count. Psychologically, the stress which chronic anger takes and the toll that it takes on the brain, it doesn't allow a person to have attention or devotion towards anything else. And spiritually as well. When Allah Ta'ala spoke of Iman, Iman has branches. You cannot just pray. You cannot just fulfill Hajj. You cannot just give Sadaqah. There's foundations upon foundations. If you will not complete it, you're not a complete believer. That being taqwa. Who are people of taqwa? People who spend, whether they're in wealth or whether they're in poverty. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. And people who suppress their anger. People who suppress their anger. And so you have the word ghayz, which means anger which is internal. Then you have the word ghadab, which is that anger which is then externalized. It's reciprocated. It's brought out. So those people who suppress their anger, that's a sign of their taqwa. That's a sign of them being from the community of the people of taqwa. A very important and huge figure of our Islamic tradition, Ibn Miskawayh rahimahullah, when speaking, and he's a very powerful philosopher and doctor of Islam. When he spoke of anger, he said a person who identifies justice will know how rationally false and incorrect it is to be angry, and to not be able to tame your anger. And what happens to that person? He starts to latch at every person. Every single thing around him becomes a target. He starts with his spouse. He continues to his children or his parents. He continues to his brothers or sisters. Then after that, when there's no reason, there may be no reason for him to attack the people around him, then what does he do? He starts attacking physical beings which have no sense of wrong or right. He starts breaking glass. He starts throwing dishes. That doesn't make any sense. Why? Abu Bakr al-Razi rahimahullah, another doctor of Islam, he said that for this reason, I see there not to be a big difference between a person who's insane and a person who cannot control his anger. Between a majnoon and between a person who cannot control his anger. A majnoon doesn't know what he's saying. A majnoon doesn't know what he's doing. A person who's in that condition of rage is the same. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know what he's doing. You can make an excuse for a majnoon, for a person who's insane. Allah Ta'ala is testing him. What excuse is for a person who hasn't controlled his anger? You have the capability. You can do it. You can tame your anger. A person came to Rasulullah ﷺ asking him, "Oh Rasulullah, give me advice. Don't make it long, don't make it short. Something which I can take for the rest of my life." For the rest of my life. Rasulullah ﷺ said to him, "La taghdab." Don't be angry. Don't perform acts of anger. He said it again, "La taghdab." He said it again, "La taghdab." Every single time the companion's asking, "Give me something else, give me something else." The companion says, as Imam Ahmad rahimahullah narrates, at that point I thought to myself, why is the Prophet repeating, "La taghdab," don't be angry? And I came to the conclusion that it is anger that is a compilation and it's a combination of every single form of evil. Anger is to a degree the mother of many evil acts. Mother of many evil acts. The only reason we wouldn't definitively say it is the mother because it has a mother, and that's arrogance. That's self-egocentric behavior. Why does a person become angry? Why does he become angry? Imam Ghazali rahimahullah very beautifully states this. It's this, the arrogance which that person has within himself, it comes in the form of anger. That's why when you see a person, he has a problem with someone who's inferior and below him, what does he do? He says, I can take control. I can show my anger. I'm a person of power. The second he sees someone superior to him, he's quiet. He doesn't show his anger. Because the ego is gone. He knows he's bigger than me. A person should at all times know Allah Ta'ala is greater than him. Isn't that what taqwa is? Isn't that what taqwa is? When you know Allah Ta'ala is greater and more powerful than you, and Allah Ta'ala's Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, that Allah Ta'ala cools His anger for the one who cools his anger upon Allah's creation, then how are you showing your anger to mankind? How are you acting in this behavior? And so the ego within the person, it cooks and it stirs this anger and rage within that person, which then comes in actions. When was it that a person insulted another person except because of anger? When was it that a spouse divorced another spouse except because of anger? So many cases in front of ulama come. So many sad cases. You tell me, when a person comes to you saying, I gave 1,000 talaqs to my wife, what solution are you going to give him? And then the person may say, but I was angry. Of course you were angry. You weren't having a good time when you said that. But these actions have their consequences. This is why Imam Abu Bakr al-Razi said, when a person, before he becomes angry, he should think of the consequences. He should think what would happen. And if a person actually thinks, if you ever think of past times that you were angry, you laugh at yourself. What did I say? What did I do? The Prophet ﷺ described anger 1400 years before psychologists. He said, haven't you seen the redness in the eyes of a person of rage? Haven't you seen the impulses and and the popping of his veins. Haven't you seen that condition? That person goes in front of the mirror and he doesn't even recognize himself. You don't even recognize yourself when you're in that condition. It's such a dangerous condition. On yourself and on society as well. People run away from you. People don't want to be friends from you. Your children, your parents, no one respects you because of it. No one respects you because of it. And so Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran that rush towards the forgiveness of Allah Ta'ala and rush towards His Jannah. And what are the qualities of the people of Jannah? People of taqwa. Who are the people of taqwa? They spend in the path of Allah and they suppress their anger. They suppress their anger. It's natural to feel anger. That's not the problem. The problem isn't anger or no anger. The problem is how and when. The problem is how and when. Even the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam portrayed anger at times, but even his anger was beautiful. Even the causes which became, the reasons why he became angry, they were beautiful. Once a person came to the Prophet ﷺ after the masjid after he exited his masjid. This person started to say, "O Rasul, you are in debt to me and you owe me. It is time that you pay up." The Rasul ﷺ said, "It's not time yet." He said it again. The Rasul answered, "It's not time yet." Right? Other companions are watching. They're becoming enraged. This is bothering them. How can a person come to the Rasul, the most just of people, the most honoring of debts? So then Rasulullah ﷺ commands Umar radiallahu anhu, go and take this person and give him his share of what he's to be owed and give him extra as well. Because the best of Muslims are the people who pay up extra. They're the best of people when it comes to paying off their debts. The Rasul ﷺ for this wisdom did business with the Jews. Why did he? This person was a Jew. Why did he do business with them? To gain trust, to show how loyal and just of a person he is. And this is a completely different discussion, but many of us who do business where we are, how has our business impacted the people around us? How has it showed our Islam? So Umar radiallahu anhu is walking with this person. He says, "Who are you?" He says, "My name is Zayd ibn Sa'na." Umar radiallahu anhu says to him, "Are you the Jewish rabbi? How could you say such things? How could you act in such a manner? Even amongst your own people, you're understood to be honorable. People of honor don't raise their voices in this manner." So he said, "Even I know that it wasn't time for the Prophet to pay his debt. But I saw all the signs of prophecy when I looked at his face alone, except for a few which were mentioned in the Torah. One of them being the hilm of the Prophet ﷺ, the forbearance, the patience, and that his forbearance is always superior to his anger. If the sign of his prophecy is the superiority of his forbearance and patience, then indeed the sign of one's Islam, is that your forbearance and your patience is superior to your anger. It's superior to your anger." He says that now I have acknowledged this, and he was the second of the rabbis to accept Islam. When people will see your character, people will want to be attracted to Islam. But if on one end you say there was a person who urinated within the masjid of Rasulullah and the Rasul said, "Don't bother him, let him finish." When you speak of level of character, but your portrayment is something else, what you display is something else, what do we have to speak of? What do we have to speak of? How many times in sacred places, within sacred gatherings, we act in such a manner? This is advice for myself and for every person sitting here. Take account of this. If you don't, you're going to surely harm yourself and your family members and the community. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Aisha radiallahu anha said, he never took revenge for personal reason. He never became angry for personal reason. And that is where righteous anger comes in. Righteous anger is when a person becomes angry only and only for the sake of Allah. And that sort of anger will present itself in a beautiful manner. If you have a sort of ego mixing within that anger, it'll show in the ugly way that you portray that anger. Did you ever hear a hadith where Rasulullah ﷺ is being held back by his companions because of anger? Did you ever hear a hadith where he raised his voice out of anger? Did you ever hear a hadith where he insulted someone because of anger? Did you ever hear a hadith where he used obscene and bad language because of anger? Did you ever hear of something? That's anger for the sake of Allah. It manifests in a beautiful way. And it's because of justice. It's to uphold the balance within the dunya. The balance, and it's because when a person may violate the inviolable and the boundaries of Allah Ta'ala. Aisha radiallahu anha says, she is the wife who can attest, who can testify better to the character of a person than their own spouse. Aisha radiallahu anha says, once I said something to the Prophet ﷺ which made him the most furious I saw him. And this doesn't take away from the rank of Aisha radiallahu anha, nor from women. Rather, this raises her rank. Because she, as our mother, is telling us to teach us, learn from the hilm of Rasulullah. Learn from the forbearance of Rasulullah. She says, the Prophet used to always mention Khadija radiallahu anha. One day I said, Allah Ta'ala has given you someone better than her. Rasulullah ﷺ was enraged. But what did he say? He didn't insult her. He didn't attack her. He didn't argue with her. Rather, he said such a statement, if you didn't even know, if Aisha radiallahu anha did not mention that he was angry, we probably wouldn't have even known. What did he say? Rasulullah ﷺ said that she supported me in a time no one else supported me. All he said was the virtue. The virtue of Khadija radiallahu anha, that was enough. She believed in me in a time where everyone disbelieved in me. She financially supported me in a time my own family members deprived me. This was how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam countered anger. This was how he harnessed within himself hilm. This is how he harnessed within himself wisdom. And so the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Man kalama ghaydan wa huwa yaqdiru ala infadhihi mala Allahu qalbahu amnan wa imanan. A person who suppresses within himself his anger and his rage. He suppresses it within himself. Even though he's capable of acting upon his anger. Right? Because if you're not capable, if you don't have the power, you won't do it anyways. But when someone is below you, your parents are old and weak, now you're young and you have strength, so you think you can deal with them how you wish. Your children are young, so you think you can deal with them and boss them how you wish. In that condition, in that state. Then what will Allah Ta'ala do? Allah Ta'ala will fill his heart with tranquility, peace, and with iman. Aman being the part of this dunya, right? Tranquility, peace. People of anger are never at peace. They ruin and they deprive themselves of their own happiness. And in the akhirah, their iman will be there for them. Their iman will be there for them. This is the virtue of a person who suppresses his anger. And what is the best way? Now people may question now, if you suppress it within yourself, there must be a way that you have to vent it. So psychologists will give different ways. But the most beautiful way in how a person can vent his anger is by forgiving other people. That's why when Allah Ta'ala spoke of suppression of anger, right after He followed it with, forgive the people. Forgive the people. وَإِذَا هُمْ يَغْفِرُونَ. And people of Jannah, when they become angry, they forgive. They forgive. This is how you vent. This is how a person takes care of that behavior and tames that anger within himself. And we ask Allah Ta'ala that He give us the capability to beautify ourselves with the hilm of Rasulullah, with the wisdom of Rasulullah. Myself and every person here is in need of it. Young or old, it doesn't matter. We're all in need of the wisdom and the patience and the forbearance and the beauty of the character which the Rasul ﷺ came and brought as a teacher. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. عباد الله، إن الله قد أمركم بأمر بدأ فيه بنفسه وثنى به الملائكة المسبحة بقدسه وثلث بكم أيها المؤمنون حيث قال: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من صلى وصام. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من قعد وقام. وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى عباد الله الصالحين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وأعز وأجل وأتم وأهم وأكبر. أقم الصلاة.